All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aquafil Fireside Chat. My name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner at Lytham Partners, and today I'll be moderating a Q&A discussion with the company's CEO, Mr. Giulio Bonazzi. Aquafil trades under the ticker ECNLF in the US on the OTCQX and ECNL in Milan. Mr. Bonazzi, welcome.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Let's start off with how Aquafil got started. What was the origin story, if you will?
Well, the group was born from an idea and hard work from my parents back in the 50s, and they started manufacturing raincoats. And then some years later, being successful in garment manufacturing, they started to integrate upstream in the weaving production. And later on, at the end of 60s, also making their own fibers. And this is how Aquafil was born between December 69 and January 1970.
All right, fantastic. Today, however, the majority of sales are really focused on recycled materials. Talk about the process and what led you down the path to the creation of this circular economy approach.
Aquafil's main production activity is to make fibers for carpets and textiles, and then also for making polymers for injection molding and engineering plastic industry. So if you take into account this, we are a normal company, but we are trying to make nylon because this is our most favorite molecule and the most important part of our business, accounting for more than 90 or almost 95% of our revenues. The way we are making nylon 6 is taking waste, of course, coming from nylon of different kinds and sources, and then with a special process, regenerating it into new raw materials that can generate polymers and fibers exactly identical of the ones coming from oil. We call this product and process ECONYL, and today is about 55% of our total revenues. So we are taking pre-consumer, post-industrial, and above all, post-consumer waste, such as fishing nets and carpets. We take them back to Europe as a waste, as a nylon waste, and then through a process, we return to the monomer. And then with the purification, we are ready to start a second round and then a third round because the process can be applied infinitely. So it is not just applicable once or twice.
So you just mentioned a little bit of it there, but go into the process. Talk through where the source materials are. You mentioned rugs, carpets, fishing nets, sort of how it's processed, and then ultimately that end product.
Well, for example, carpets are almost all of them coming from California when we speak about post-consumer carpets. So we have 4 collection points in California between San Diego and Los Angeles metropolitan area, plus 1 collection point in Phoenix, Arizona. So we are collecting carpets from carpet retailers or from carpet installers. We sort them by fiber type, pack them, bale, and ship them to Phoenix, where we have our Aquafil carpet recycling operation. In this operation, we separate the carpets into the 3 main components, and then the nylon fraction is sent back in a pellet form to Europe, while the other parts are recycled locally. When we speak about fishing nets, we are collecting either directly or through traders and partners fishing nets from almost all over the places. Of course, the most important area where we are collecting fishing nets is in Scandinavian countries, where we also have a participation in a company that is acting as a waste management company for the aquaculture industry of Norway, Iceland, Greenland, and all these beautiful countries. But we are also collecting fishing nets from the Mediterranean area, the Middle East, even from the Far East. And of course, from Alaska, where you are having a lot of salmon industry as well, but also from lately South America, Chile, in Patagonia, where we have just opened our new, let's say, collection centers for fishing nets from Chile. The other waste are coming, again, a lot of them from US, but also from Europe and the Asia-Pacific region.
And that process to convert it from the recycled material back into an end product. Talk about some of that process and the ultimate end product that you're looking to apply it towards.
Well, clearly we are making ECONYL 100% out of waste. And of this waste, there is a portion which is pre-consumer and a portion which is post-consumer. The process is a chemical process, is not a simple mechanical recycling, because of course, when you mechanical recycle, it's efficient, but it's downgrading the waste. So it's very difficult or sometimes impossible to reproduce the product that has generated the waste. In our case, we return to the original building blocks of the raw material, so to the monomers. So the waste is coming under the form of a polymer. We break the bonds of the polymer, and once we have the monomer, we go into a purification step, which is giving us a monomer which is as pure as the one coming from oil, so from petroleum raw materials. At this point, we can make polymers for injection molding or extrude these polymers and making yarns for carpets that we sell to almost all the most important carpet companies around the world. Or we are making yarns that are going to weaving and knitting mills that are supplying the most important brands in the fashion industry. People like Prada, Stella McCartney, Burberry, Louis Vuitton, and many, many others. You know, we have more than 2,500 customers worldwide using ECONYL as their flagship product. So it's nylon. It's not different than a petroleum-based nylon, but can perfectly substitute without any problem for our customers. So engineers don't have to scratch their heads and finding the way to use this material because it's exactly identical. And designers don't have to bother whether this material is less nice or less beautiful than the one coming from oil. It's exactly identical, and it's applicable infinite number of times.
Fantastic. Now, beyond your focus, and you've been discussing nylon here, you recently announced the first demo plant launch for chemical separation of elastic fiber from nylon. Talk through that process and your opportunity here.
Well, like many other fibers, most of the times you don't find them in a pure form. I mean, you don't find nylon in a pure form, or not so frequently, but most of the times you find it blended with other fibers. In the case of nylon 6, one of the most important applications is going to active sportwear or swimwear applications, which means elastic fabrics that can be knitted or woven. In this case, of course, you have a blend between the nylon 6 and the spandex or elastane. And it's a big challenge to recycle these materials because they are blended together, intimately blended together. So we have worked more than 10 years. In fact, the first patent was registered back in 2013. And the last one, which is now giving birth to this new demonstration plant, was deposited in December 2022. So with a pretty simple system integrated in our ECONYL recycling plant, we are able to separate the nylon from the spandex. And of course, the nylon separated can become a perfect feedstock for our ECONYL regeneration plant. So we can return to give new nylon yarns that can be used for making, again, swimwear or sportswear application. The spandex separated, we are studying the way to use it for substituting certain rubbers, because of course, spandex is a rubber. Sorry, it's a bit simplistic, but gives you the idea of what an elastane fiber is a polyurethane material. Okay, and we are studying how to recycle it for making shoe soles or other applications that, of course, can use the material. So we don't want to throw anything away. Clearly, we are first focusing on nylon because also this means to save and recover between 80 to 85% of the total stuff that you are collecting. But in the near future, we want also to find an application for the remaining portion. which is not perfect like ours, but certainly better than landfilling or incinerating.
So it really expands your source of materials, and it expands your end customer base as well.
Yes, of course, we are able at this point to recover all the pre-consumer waste that our customers are generating. People don't know that when they buy a swimsuit, I would say a good 20% of the fabrics that have generated these swimsuits have been sent to landfill. Because when you cut and sew, this is more or less the portion of fabrics that is going lost. So we can, first of all, recover, if properly organized, these, let's say, cut and trims. But secondly, if swimwear are designed properly, so with the optic and the idea of the monomaterial, for example, one day we will be able also to take back the final product. So not only the pre-consumer waste.
Fantastic. I want to come back to, you were talking about your customer base, but I want to make sure people understand most of your customers, you're a B2B sort of a business here. Talk about sort of that process, and then ultimately come back to some of your end customers, and maybe talk about why those end customers prefer the circular product instead of a standard fossil fuel-based product.
I will start answering to the second question. They prefer our ECONYL because it is giving them not only something which is recycled and with a much lower carbon footprint, give or take between 80 to 90% lower CO2 emissions, but also because we are letting them making beautiful products without any compromise, And believe me, nobody wants to pay more. Of course, we are trying to get a premium for what we are doing, but it is of super importance to make beautiful products, or people don't buy them, So they want to buy the best and most beautiful cars, the best and most beautiful fashion products, the best and most beautiful carpets. And this is what we are trying to make together with our customers. Then, thank you for asking. We are an ingredient company. So we are making ingredients mainly based of nylon yarns. So, we need, of course, to deliver to other customers. So we are a B2B company delivering, for example, to the most important carpet tile manufacturers around the world, in US and around the world. The biggest customer for us is Interface, but there are many others like Milliken, like Tarkett, like Mannington in US, Belize. And the list could go on for, several minutes. We are producing and delivering in Europe to almost all the carpet companies based in Europe, as well as to United States. We produce and sell to US, which is very important because we are not sending yarns from Europe to US, but we are extruding and manufacturing yarns from US for the American market, from Europe for the European market, and from Asia Pacific, from our operations that are China, Thailand, and Japan for the Asia Pacific markets. So we try really to minimize transactions between one continental area to the other. But of course, we are an ingredient company. So in the case of carpets, we deliver to carpet manufacturers. In the case of fashion, we deliver, since we are making yarns and not fabrics, to fabric manufacturers who are then delivering to garment makers and brands.
Oh, very good. Talk about the competition here. Is anyone doing exactly what you are doing?
No, not yet. We will see in the future. We started this journey at least 12, 13 years ago, because the first commercial scale plant was born and started up in 2011. The project started in 2007. We have spent a lot of money in research and development, and then also a lot of capital for expanding and building this operation. Fortunately, we have our internal engineering team, so we are not depending on someone from outside, and this is very important for this kind of intellectual properties, for protecting also the know-how, but also when you have to make a modification, you can make it quite, let's say, more quickly than, I mean, going outside to an engineering company, asking for a project and so on and so forth, you know. So for sure, others are trying to copy and to follow, but they will take also a lot of time before reaching our levels. And in the meantime, of course, we are trying possibly to speed up our process and not, I mean, resting and just capitalizing. There are lately some new ones who are starting who have started something similar, but not in nylon, but in polyester, which is of course the most important fiber and also a big product for the packaging industry. Easy to remember the PET bottles, you know, that are polyester based. Certainly, they will also have, you know, a period of learning by doing and adjustment of their process. But I mean, it's not in direct competition with what we are making, and above all, it is not less expensive.
You put an industrial plan out, sort of outlining the next 3 years here for the company. For those that maybe haven't seen the industrial plan, talk through some of the generalities to your outlook here.
Yes, Aquafil being involved in the commercial carpet industry and in the automotive has certainly suffered a lot the COVID period, when of course people, and still some of them are working from home or not, let's say, spending much time in the office or are not commuting, going back and forth from home to the office, thus of course using less their automotive cars, you know. So we have suffered a lot the period of COVID, and then being let's say 50% of Aquafil dependent, producing and selling into the European market, we have suffered the war between Russia and Ukraine in terms of energy crisis that hit Europe. Today, energy in Europe is far more expensive than what you can have in US or Asia. And this is, of course, because of, say, oil and gas, which is definitely more expensive since, I mean, Russia was hit by sanctions. And then, you know, because of that, we have started a deep restructuring process that last year led us to increase our EBITDA of more than 30% in comparison with 2023. And we want to continue this cycle. So we are putting a lot of attention on cost, but also we want to start growing our revenues because it is important for every company to grow. So we have a project to return to grow in the company during 2025, and we are pretty confident that we will see our top line increasing as our business plan is reporting, and we are working hard to keep our cost under control and possibly also, you know, to do a little bit more than what we have announced, because you never know. The market today is very unpredictable. There are a lot of things that are influencing the market demand on a daily basis. So better to be prepared if something doesn't go as forecasted. But basically, this is the baselines. So we want to grow our revenues, let's say, more than 10% during the coming 2 years. We have a capital expenditure program, keeping, of course, our investments under control for reaching this business plan. And this is resulting, of course, in a continuous growth of our EBITDA, but also with a big decrease of our net financial position, because our free cash flow will be, let's say, abundant in comparison with, let's say, the capital expenditures and the little growth of working capital that we will have with the growth of the revenues.
Yeah, to all investors, I certainly would encourage them to go to your website, go on that investor relations tab. There's a very detailed slide presentation which outlines everything that Mr. Benazzi is talking about here. as it relates to the industrial plan. So it goes into a great deal. I would definitely recommend everyone take a look at that. But on that point, walk through maybe some of the biggest risks to achieving sort of the outlooks going forward here.
I believe that the biggest risk is the uncertainty today driven by the, let's say, tariffs that the world is apparently going to implement in the near future. Nobody knows what these tariffs are going to be. Nobody knows, in fact, what the consequences these tariffs are going to bring. In our case, of course, the impact should be relatively rather limited in a direct form, since we try to buy and sell in the area. So even if we have some, let's say, transactions that are taking place from one area to the other, because we are taking waste back to Europe, we are shipping this special polymer ECONYL to US and Asia. So we could be partially impacted, but clearly it's easy to make an example. If the automotive industry is highly impacted and we are a sub-supplier of the automotive industry, we will be impacted as well. If the global growth will not be as, let's say, the one expected, but will be lower, clearly also people will buy less clothing, less cars, less carpets, less houses, and so on and so forth. So this is, from our side, the biggest uncertainty. But we are working hard, in any case, to trying to minimize also these effects. And as you can imagine, like everyone, we are having our plan B or plan C.
Fantastic. You maybe to wrap things up here, again, we have the industrial plan, which you've outlined and talked about here today. As investors are looking to track your progress against that plan, what are some of the key items that they should be looking out for over the coming year or so?
Well, I would, of course, recommend to stick on, let's say, controlling the growth of the revenues, because normally, if revenues are growing, sooner or later, also the other factors are coming along, and also the decrease of our net financial position. Let's say June it will be, or better, when we will publish our 6-month report, it will be a good moment for updating on the progresses of our business plan achievement. And also we will have also a clearer picture of what, I mean, eventually the tariffs are going to impact our markets and, let's say, the demand of our customers. Then, of course, you know, we will work hard for 2025 and 2026 to reach the targets and to fulfill the request of our shareholders.
All right, very good. Any closing remarks to investors here, both existing shareholders and ones looking to maybe take a position in the name?
Aquafil is a global company, is a company that is making a lot of research and development, and we are trying really to introduce a new concept, new circular concept into the textile and fashion industry. It's a long process. Maybe sometimes it seems that the political level could go faster or slower. Certainly, Europe seems to be more oriented to this kind of revolution. But I'm sure that nobody can argue that in 10 or 20 years, the market will change and we have to go in that direction. This is what we're trying to do. And hopefully you will come together with us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Benazzi, for the discussion here, and to everyone for watching. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a meeting with Aquafil, you can send me an email. That's Blum, BLUM, @lythampartners.com. We do have additional presentations and fireside chats coming up here, so stick around. Again, Mr. Benazzi, thank you so much for your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.